there were nights, not that I didn't sleep, but there were nights where I was like, holy have I done the right thing?
You're a very driven person.
Yes.
You're a pocket rocket. Like.
It's not about me. It's not. It's about my staff getting better. And it's about not me earning all the money. It's about helping Johnny become a great agent so he can have the financial freedom that I do.
G'day guys, welcome back to Australia's #1 construction podcast. We are back in the shed this afternoon for another cracking episode. Something very different for you today. I've been looking forward to this one for a little while, but today we've got Clinton Vertell. We've had a relationship for quite a while. Clinton has 2 Belle property real estate agents. He's also been on Dancing CEOs, which go and check it out on YouTube.
Thanks. Sure. Jesus.
And he's also involved in a couple of software companies. So today, I really want to dive into Clinton's journey and also talk about developing, how you find properties for developing and developers and all those types of things, but just the real estate market and what you do, mate.
Yep.
How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for the invitation. I've been obviously listening to not all of your podcasts, but I've been watching and tracking your progress, and what you guys do is fantastic.
Cheers, mate.
Yeah, and is it Lewis? Is this the guy?
Yeah, Lewis is coming up tomorrow.
Obviously, that was just hearing that story that you shared, and his journey sort of coming back into having the confidence to start back up in building businesses, mate. That's life-changing stuff.
Yeah, well, that's what the podcast is all about, mate. Like, I'm on a mission to create a new industry, but it's become a real passion. Like, it's sharing stories and inspiring people, and
yep.
I think your story will inspire people today.
It's an interesting one.
Like, before we jump into your story, like we have a mutual friend, which I think was a little bit to do with our first connection.
Correct. The Campbells. Kathy
the Campbells
and Jim.
And then we engaged you to sell a couple of...
I didn't have the business. I had to go and pitch for it. That was at Fernley.
Oh, mate, we did a townhouse development, and Clinton turned up in white pants on a rainy day. It was muddy as anything.
Yes.
I'll never forget it.
I had a pair of moccasin shoes on, which I'm wearing a pair today, but people don't think I wear socks, but I do wear socks. But when Camille, when she escorted me through the worksite, some of your boys were looking at me going, who the fuck is this dude? So I didn't look at home on the worksite, but that's okay. I didn't get anything on me, which is a good thing. So
no, mate, it's been an incredible relationship. You also now currently property manage a couple of our properties.
We do.
But like, you're very good at what you do. Like, the townhouses that you sold for us got a record price for a townhome.
They did.
In the suburb.
We should sort of kept them to now, but that's...
Well, mate, even back when we sold them, like, it was a record price. And then another property which we built on the Redcliffe Peninsula, which you ended up getting involved with as well.
I did.
Also,
80 Prince Edward Parade.
Yeah, also sold for a record price. And you were just saying, what's that been, 3 years?
That was 2 years in July.
And it still holds the record?
Still holds the record. That's 80 Prince Edward Parade if you're on the net. An amazing full renovation and addition to a property that held a lot of interest on the peninsula because it was an old Uniting Church.
It's an old nuns
convent home.
Yeah,
that they used to use for holidays for the nuns. So that what you did there on that property was just obviously to retain the existing dwelling and then repurpose it and recycle what you could. Yeah, is very special. So we took that to auction, and that for me was an uncontested listing. So for any agents out there who are listening, it means you go in, and because Dwayne had spoken to Kerry about my services, to my knowledge, there was no other agents that were pitching for that business. So
I talk about it a lot on the podcast. Like, to be successful, you got to have good people around you and build teams.
Correct.
And so, like, the success we've had with property and the ones you've been involved with it's about great design, like great building, yes, great position, and then finishing off with bringing someone like yourself in that can cap it off and bring it home.
Well, look, we don't win every listing that we pitch for, but we see some of the mistakes that are made out there where people want to shortcut on marketing, and they might have a great product. And this has been somebody who's done a renovation on a home. And if they then go to market and they try to squeeze an agent on commission or marketing, they go to the bottom of the barrel, and then some of the agents actually, well, I'm not going to put as much effort into it because I'm only going to pay me a pittance.
Yeah.
That's when you get to that position, you don't want to be shortchanging on that side of it. And you got to look at, obviously, who's selling what and how they do it. And I mean, it's not just about the number. We do deals, and Johnny is one of my co-agents. He's also a plumber by trade. Camille just gave us a mixer that we've got to put into the place at
one of our properties.
Yeah, one of your properties. So we did a deal which settled yesterday, and the drainage from the guttering was venting to the ground, so there was no actual drainage. The sellers weren't going to give a reduction on the price, the contract price, and the buyers weren't going to buy it without having drainage. So we were doing some other works there, but we had an excavator there to build a pit. So we did at my cost. So these are the things that you do in real estate. Just you don't want to be. Sometimes the agent's commission's in the middle of actually getting a deal done. So you've got to think about creative ways to keep things moving to a direction. Otherwise, everyone walks away and you start back from scratch. So my business is all about not standing in the way and not giving away money where we don't need to, but ensuring that we're not the reason that a deal falls apart.
Yeah. So, mate, to go back a few steps, like you're a very driven person.
Yes.
You're a pocket rocket. Like, where's all that come from? Like, how'd you get into real estate?
It's a passion, I suppose. And some of the other old heads in real estate and in the Belle Property Network who've been doing real estate for 20 years, they said to me, mate, where does the energy come from? It comes from passion. Now, you've got passion for your building industry and now obviously helping people with their, I suppose, reigniting their passion, which is the Lewis story. I'm still a shareholder in a couple of software businesses that specialise in real estate. And then a very good friend of mine was selling off the plan developments for Traders in Purple on the peninsula. And he was into me probably from 2005 onwards saying, mate, you have to get into real estate on the Redcliffe Peninsula. No disrespect to any of the old school agents on the peninsula, but it was then, and in some cases it still is pretty backward in terms of adoption of technology, best practice, and all that sort of stuff. So he badgered me for a couple of years until we actually sat down and put some numbers together. And then it was a case of, well, if we do this, who are we going to go with? Belle Property, on face value, as a boutique agency, looked appealing. We spoke to them. We spoke to McGrath, who still don't have an office on the peninsula, but I think they're talking about opening one up. They've got one at North Lakes. So obviously boutique brands. Anyway, long story short, Belle Property's motto, I suppose, is fewer, better people. Yeah. So you can have a team, but if you look at some of our competition, I'm not going to name any businesses, but they might have an office with 30 staff. We've got an office with 8 staff. We produce more than those guys. So that just sort of goes to show the level of staff that we've got around in our team. It's like with your stuff. If you've got a guy who's not producing the quality, well, how long can he stay in your business? Because you've got to go back and fix it all the time. You can't afford to do that. Yeah, but just to go back a little bit, like everyone's hearing us talking about Peninsula. So Clinton works, and we used to live over there on the Redcliffe Peninsula. So it's about, 24 Ks north of Brisbane? North of Brisbane, yep. So accessible to Brisbane CBD as well as the airport, which is a massive selling feature for anybody who's looking to move. But you're right on Moreton Bay. You're 30 minutes in a decent boat to Moreton Island. Yep. Like it is an incredible place, but it is like it's literally the only in the last 5 years that it's had some decent money come into it. Correct. Well, there's been decent money there, but like I guess rather than decent money, like there's a new stage of Newport that opened up. Yep. Stockland and that brought in a new flair to building, and like in the last 5 years, there are some incredible homes popping up. There are on the peninsula. There's a couple of different builders. One of them's quite prominent is Monster Homes. Are doing a lot up there. CMA do a lot of builds, but equally you've done a renovation of a place on Australia Court 56. We've done some big dollar jobs there for some private clients that don't. Oh, sorry. Those ones are fine. But okay. Like we've done renovations on some sort of $7 and $10 million homes on the peninsula, which is interesting when you talk about properties like that. I mean, that's big coin. Yeah. It's incredible how many wealthy people there are in Redcliffe. Yep. Well, it used to be Deadcliffe, but COVID obviously created a set of circumstances where people were looking for a lifestyle change and to move to the coast. I grew up at Boondall, and we never spent time as kids in Redcliffe. We went to the Sunshine Coast because that's where the grandparents were, and that's where we gravitated to. If you think about Sandgate, Shorncliffe, Brighton, beautiful spot, but when the tide is out, you're looking at mudflats. now we have this discussion with certain people who are looking at over that area as well. But if you're looking at the water over in Brighton versus off the tip of Scarborough, it's more beautiful up there in Scarborough. So and now it's got the Dolphins. I'm a Broncos supporter from way back, but I do have one foot in each camp. It's everything that's happening in Redcliffe. If you said that this would have happened 10 years ago, people would go, no, mate, no way. I mean, to have an NRL team, that's
huge.
It's a huge commitment.
Massive. And it's like that in itself's huge for the peninsula. And like to see the people they get at the stadium there now.
Yeah. Oh, it's packed. We've got a game next Thursday night. I don't know when this podcast is going out, but I've got a couple of tickets if anybody's interested in coming along to one of the boxes that we have.
But what about before that, before the software?
So
what was your...
phone systems and photocopiers, that sort of stuff. So that's where I cut my teeth as an agent. I was actually talking to Lachlan, my oldest son, last night, because he said, oh, what did you used to do before real estate, Dad? So from 2001, it was selling phone systems, photocopiers in telco, where I cut my teeth as a salesperson. And then obviously you have the GFC hit where everything sort of died down. So there's been a few blips on the radar in terms of those circumstances. And then obviously the COVID pandemic was something that nobody knew.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know about we were told by the Office of Fair Trading we couldn't do open homes, and then we could only do privates, and then we couldn't even do that. With your building sites, it was just shut down.
Yeah, well, no, Queensland got through it a lot better than most, but
100%.
We finished that townhouse at the complex where you sold one.
Yep.
Like, we literally were finishing that job, and I think you were going to do the first open home,
and then
the week
lockdown.
They announced that COVID's shutting the country down.
Yep.
And we shit our pants for a bit, but it didn't last that long, and you ended up being able to do some open homes, and we kept moving. But COVID really changed, I guess, the playing field for everybody. Like, you had to think outside the box. And the reason I like to dig into your story a little bit is because something I'm really passionate about now is so many people are stuck doing a job that they don't like, or they have a business that is actually a bad paying job because they don't know how to run it or improve it or grow it or any of those types of things. So by hearing your background, where you come from, but you've obviously had a few pivots throughout your career.
I have, but at the core of it, real estate is nothing more than it's customer service and trust.
Yeah.
You can have the best marketing engine sitting behind you, but if you're not a good human, like, the good humans will always rise to the top. And if you think that the top is the one who sells the most, not necessarily always the case. There's some people that are operating on the Redcliffe Peninsula who are very good in the lounge room selling themselves, but they're not the best human. And we see and we know things that happen with deals that could have been handled better, because real estate is stressful. Like, I mean, I can't remember the days on market at Fernley, but every seller just goes through this merry-go-round of, wow, are we going to sell? We're under contract. What about the conditions? And it's just... Our job is to try to take as much friction out of that process as possible through our experience. And mate, I'm learning stuff with every single transaction. There's stuff that happens that you go, wow. Yeah. And I help and apply that as to nurture the way that it all happens. So all of my experience in sales have sort of led me to, like, the core of it, be a good human.
Yeah, we've had quite a few dealings with you, and we've done a lot of dealings with other real estate agents as well over the years, and you're very equal. Like, we've done deals with real estate agents and especially when we're trying to buy another investment property or something, and like, I can't believe some agents will go, oh, look, mate, just offer this, and they need the money. Like,
so that's when they're working for the buyer.
Yeah.
And either you're supposed to operate in the interest of the seller. They're the ones that are paying you. But there's
some people just want to get the deal, get the cash.
Now, if you're on the buy side of that and you're the beneficiary and going to save some money, then whatever. But if that's the way that they do their business, they're never going to rise to the top.
But the thing is, like, and look, I'll put my hand up. Like, we've bought properties off people like that, but I would never go back to them to sell it.
No, absolutely right.
Because you know what they're going to work.
Then if you do sell it and they go, oh, why didn't you call me? It's like, do you remember the way that the negotiation went down?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's quite a bit of money that's being left on the table on the Redcliffe Peninsula. Now, we can't sell every property. And again, do I say that we're the best? I know that I believe our process is the best. Is that going to get the best result every single time? Consistency will always lead us to the fact that I think consistently we're up there. There's some outlying results. A property recently sold off market for $4 million on Key Circuit, which is a beautiful monster built home. That has sort of set a benchmark. So people are looking at going, wow, $4 million. I mean, that's a lot of coin. When you add on the costs for stamp duty and the other likes, then it's considerable coin.
It's insane. Like, you look at that. I'm not sure of the name of it, but that loop road that goes around from the new set of shops.
Yeah, so that's Key Circuit.
Yeah, like there would be 24 houses on that road.
Yes,
for over $4 million.
Easy.
Like, and probably some approaching $6 and $8 million.
Yep.
And to think that, like 5-6 years ago, if you had said, hey, Redcliffe's going to have multiple houses over $4, $5, $6 million, people would have laughed at you.
They would have. And there's more coming. Mind you, the Stockland development, the last track that they are subdividing is on Coolum Parade. Once that's done, it's over. Unless there was somebody talking the other day going, the Redcliffe Airport's going to be resumed and they're going to do something there. Whether that happens in the future or not. But there's more people that want to move to the peninsula than there are properties available. So when you talk about price growth, if there's a supply and demand imbalance, there is always going to be price growth.
Yeah.
A lot of the buyers that I've seen, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 2 years, still haven't bought. And they're telling me, I'm just waiting for the prices to drop.
Yeah, they aren't dropping.
No, they're not. So it's just a case of how much are they going to go up. For the 24 months to the last 12-month period, I think the price growth figures were about 36%.
Growth?
Growth, pretty much spearheaded by Scarborough and a lot of the canal homes in Newport. Stuff on Australia Court, the big blocks, the older homes, the quality homes.
Then being in the real estate game, do you get all the figures like average across the country and those sorts of things?
Yeah. So RP data obviously can provide you with a snapshot at any given time. When you look at...
you brought them with you, mate.
Did.
Come prepared.
I did come prepared. So obviously I specialise in Scarborough and Diane is one of my business partners at Newport, our office there. The Newport, when you look at, this is a little graph here, right? Yeah. And this is where it got up to 40% price growth. Now, the downward trend there was when all of the interest rate rises. So if you look at trends, well, what happened here to cause that? All those interest rate rises, 12 in a row, that gave people pause to go, hang on, what are we doing here? Because up to this point, it was multi-offers and people were just offering what they needed to get to do to buy the house.
Yeah.
Scarborough, it's the same trend.
Yeah.
So that was 40 odd percent. So it was 36 to 40%. And now we're in a confidence is into the market at the moment because we haven't had an interest rate rise for, I don't know, 4 cycles now, in the Reserve Bank is only meeting every 6 weeks, not every month. So they're stretching out the time between. Yeah. So we've got a confidence sort of level where people are happy with their mortgage repayments and they're confident to get back into the market. If there's a cut and the media is saying then last week, there's another rise coming, but that's just the media. They're just trying to look at the inflation numbers and whatnot and try to just tell the market just to cool their jets. I'm seeing in my businesses, days on market are coming in. That means that people are being more decisive. So that's our metric.
Yeah. But when you're with anything, you've got to look, I can't stand the media. I don't listen to radio and those types of things, but you've got to look at everything as over a long period.
Correct.
You can't make any decisions based off a day or a week or even a month. And when you see, when you're looking at growth and those types of things, you've got to look over it a longer period, 2, 3, 5 years. Well,
10 years in Brisbane used to be the you doubled in value in that time. I bought a property myself with my wife, and it doubled in value in 3 years.
Yeah, shit.
So a guy from Melbourne came up, then COVID hit. And then it was just a property that we wanted. So, and I've got a long-term view. Yeah. And I've been putting my money where my mouth is in real estate, especially in Scarborough, because that's where we live and that's what we love. But this is long-term hold. My goal is to get as much land as I can over the next 2 to 3 years with a view of what's happening leading into the Olympics, which is, if you think Sydney 2000, there is no reason why we won't have the growth associated with everything else in the media spotlight. That's going to be the Olympics in whenever it is, 2032.
Yeah, but how do you think it'll go? I'm the same, but I believe once the Olympics is done and dusted, it's either going to drop a bit or it will level off dramatically. I can only talk about the Redcliffe Peninsula, but it's a beautiful place to live, and I believe that the whole southeast Queensland area, in comparison to Sydney and Melbourne markets, is still value for people who have a different mindset. There's so many people moving here.
There are.
Is there actually? You would know. Has Redcliffe been zoned a city?
Yeah, I think yes, it has.
Well, they were talking about it end of last year, and I never sort of saw it.
It's its own city.
Because they were saying when I was reading all the information on that, it was Moreton Bay. Mm-hmm. So it was Moreton Bay Shire Council, and they were changing it to Moreton Bay or Moreton City or something. But when I was reading the numbers on that and doing some research, I think at November or late last year, so late 2023, that Moreton Bay Shire Council had, I think it was 380,000 people or something, 360,000 people.
Right.
And they were predicting that by, I think it was 2028, it was going to over double.
Wow.
So they're talking 700,000-800,000 people in that area. Yep. And that's why. So it went So it was going to overtake. It was going to go Brisbane, Gold Coast, Redcliffe.
Wow.
Or Moreton Bay.
Yep. Which it is that beautiful that at some stage we are going to have that population growth, but the infrastructure at the moment can't handle it.
Yeah.
There isn't enough housing.
Yeah.
But if you think about Redcliffe now, a lot of the bogan aspects of it sort of moved out to D-Bay. Now, D-Bay as a hotspot in 10 years' time is going to be like Redcliffe sort of is today. So if you have a long-term view, get the biggest property on land you can get up there that is not going to cost you a lot to maintain, so something brick and tile. And if you just close your eyes and put some tenants in there in 10 years' time, you'll be one of the smart ones, because those people are then being pushed out towards Caboolture.
That's what a lot of people don't realise with real estate, is it? Like, you see so many people that make, like, we've actually got a client at the moment that's, I rang you about, they're on the hunt for a house in Redcliffe, but they have made their money because they bought a 20 or 30 acre block on the outskirts of Caboolture
and waited for it to be
20 years ago for what would have been a few $100,000, and it's now worth over $20 million.
Yeah, that's you know what, those opportunities are out there right now. If you think about where things are pushing, they're out there. But it's not going to cost you $300,000 to buy something of that size, but it might cost you $1 million.
Yeah.
But to then turn that into, that's going to be $40 million at that time.
Yeah, you've got to be thinking long term.
You do. But there's a lot of money, and as you've identified, there's a lot of money being invested in the Redcliffe Peninsula right now. And we've spoken about it before, going, when's it going to stop?
Yeah. Well, I think people don't, like, and I know from my experience and the developments we've done, like, and look, I was naive back in the day, and you'd buy things based off what you saw on the news and what you were getting told. But knowing what we know now, and like the
fundamentals.
Well, you pay money. Like the last development, well, even when we did that Fernley, like, we paid a pretty substantial fee to get a data analysis done on the Redcliffe Peninsula, and mate, we got this. I think it cost us a bit over $7,000, and mate, it was like over 300 pages.
Really? Did you read it all?
Oh, mate, I didn't read all of it. Honestly, the stuff that I read in there, like, it told us everything the council had on the cards, trains, bus lines, road upgrades. Like, it gave us everything. But doing that gave us the confidence to make the investments that we did.
Because you obviously, the spec that you put on that particular development, I mean, you bought the site well at the time, so there's obviously profit locked in there, but you went, and by comparison, there's a development next door, and yours and that was sort of like chalk and cheese.
Oh, it's chalk and cheese, mate. And everyone thought we were crazy. Everyone's like, why are you doing this to this level when that thing's next door there?
Yes. Well, it's and it's still, mate, it still looks great.
It's still the best in that area.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
And look, I'm grateful we held on to a couple of them, but selling that one for the record price at the front was awesome. And she's an awesome lady. We talk to her regularly, but mate, what do you like to go down the development path a little bit? Like, do you get people reaching out to you looking for developments?
We 100%. So there's a lot of splitter blocks, like a lot of 810s, where people are either putting townies on them, or they're doing just a couple of subdivision, I suppose, and obviously a couple of spec homes. An 810 square block these days is probably going to run you between 1.3 to 1.5, depending on how close it is to the water. They can get down to the 1.2 sort of range, where they then obviously split up the guts, and you got two 10.1 frontages, which sort of limits what you can put on them.
So how's it work? Like, for people that are listening, that because most people's goal is to get some sort of an investment. Or definitely in the building and trade area. Like, people want to possibly do their own projects and things. Like, I know you and I, like, I've rung you about a few things. Like, what's the way that things should happen? Like, can a guy ring you up and say, hey, I'm looking at doing a development, can you give me any inside information to some properties that are coming on the market? Yeah,
look, we do not a lot of off-market stuff, because unless the circumstances dictate that it needs to go off-market, we don't tend to, because I can't guarantee that it's the best price if there's no competition. But there's a couple other guys that we deal with. One's a buyer's agent on the peninsula who has done quite a few land subdivisions and developments. He's got a lot of inside, but I haven't done one myself. When we recently bought our place up on Turner Street, we kept Margaret Street because we wanted to retain as much as possible. And when you think about the stamp duty implications, you're just tossing it into the bin. It's like, let's just find a way to make it work. But we will retain that place at Margaret Street to do a development at some stage. My wife and I, Amanda, we had plans to have you build a house on that site, which would be just a complete knockdown rebuild. Mate, the stuff that we've seen you do, and our mindset's like, it's probably going to cost $2 million. But to do it properly,
it doesn't, mate. it doesn't cost money to do it properly. It costs money to meet people's expectations.
Right. Yeah, well, there you go. So, and having never done it, like people come to properties that we have listed and say, oh, I can get the land and build it for that.
Yeah.
So, but you can't. If you actually went and talked to you or talked to any other builders that are out there and actually got a quote, and then how much can I buy this vacant block of land for? And there's not many vacant blocks getting around, especially in Scarborough.
Yeah.
They're kidding themselves. Well, I don't want to be disrespectful to people, but unless you've actually done the numbers and you know the numbers, don't come and tell me what a place is worth.
Yeah.
Because if you actually understood the numbers, you'd go, well, geez, and then it builds value in where we're talking, because you cut out all the issues with the building, and if it's nicely renovated, so anything that's really nicely renovated now holds a premium.
I think if you do, and I guess, I don't know, a bit of a disclaimer, like this is all our personal opinions, and like we're not telling you to go out and do any of this.
I'm not a financial advisor.
It's you need to make your own decisions and get your own advice and stuff. But I've found, like we have some rental properties that are just cheap shit.
Correct.
Like they're just simply there to create passive income, and that's all they're for. But like I know ones that we've done ourselves, and then we do, like we're definitely not a builder that people come to build flip, because we just don't do that low quality of work.
No.
But we do get clients that come to us. We've done lots of them now where clients want to push, like Kerry, we did another one in at Northgate for one of our clients, where people want to push the boundaries. They want a nice property. They want to build a great family home. They want good quality. And then they bring someone like yourself in that's going to market it to the right crowd.
Correct.
And it makes it worthwhile. You get your money back.
You do. Well, you should. But again, whatever circumstances, we deal with stuff that deceased estates or divorces, that's nobody else's business except for those people. But we hear some stories where an agent will use that, oh, look, they're divorcing. If you put an offer in here, I reckon I can convince them to take it. Like imagine being the vendor in that situation and finding out, I suppose, that's the conversations that are being had on your behalf. That's, I mean, shit. When people are going through that sort of stuff, that's just, you just got to do things the right way.
Yeah, 100%. And that's what I've always liked about you, mate. Like you always wear your heart on your sleeve. You put in 100%, 120%.
But you got to, if you stop, and that dancing CEOs thing, and thanks Jay for bringing that up. I didn't know that it was going to cost that much financially to me, and I wouldn't have changed it for the world. I would have been a bit smarter with my time.
So what do you mean by that? Because I think this is a good point to explain to people that have a business. Like,
well, if you take your eye off the ball, like Tom Panos is a trainer, and he sort of bangs on about what you do today will manifest in 3 months. All right, so the extra phone calls that you make today will create a relationship that could, and if it should manifest if you do it the right way, in 3 months' time. So if you're away from your business at this time, and then in 3 months' time you've actually got no listing flow, and you're like, well, hang on, what happened? And it's like, well, that's what happened. But I was identified to do that, and I committed to raising the money that I did, and I went over the target, which was great. I did it because I wanted to provide something back to the community, and the Queensland, a Women's Legal Service Queensland, obviously, is the place that provides all of the free service for women who are going through, and it's not just women, but it's a women's legal service, but they provide service for women under that circumstance, and there's a lot of DV out there these days. So it's if you can be out there and do like that sort of stuff in your business, but if you are going to take time away from your core business, know that it's going to cost you somewhere down the line.
It's interesting hearing you talk about that, because I see a lot of builders do the same thing. Like they not similar. So they and tradies, so they win a bunch of work, and then the work becomes a focus. And then they stop focusing on the leads. They get stuck into the work, and then halfway through the work, they're like, holy shit, we're going to need some work when this is finished. And by that time, it's too late to get the work in, and you end up with a slow period.
Well, that's working in your business or on your business. And I think the one thing that you talk about with builders is that if you're really great on the tools, 9 times out of 10, you ain't a good business owner. And we know some people historically.
It'd be the same in real estate, but wouldn't it? Like you'd get great salesmen that aren't good at running the business.
Oh, correct. And if not to say I've had my time over, but being a real estate principal and a selling principal, so I've got my own clients to deal with, but I'm also there to mentor and get my team to a position where they're doing more and doing better. sometimes life would be easier if I was just a listing and selling agent. When you got 3 kids and my wife's got a gym, so there's a lot of stuff going on. But mate, it's not roses all the time, but we just get up every day and we do give it our best, like you do in your business. And if you can go to bed at night knowing I gave it a red hot crack today.
So what drives you?
I don't know.
So what's your why?
My why is my kids.
Yeah.
And my wife, how was it worded? I think my wife said, "Do you remember why you got into real estate?" And at the time I said, "It's not for the money," but she said, "You did it because you had to pay Nudgee College school fees." Right? Now I've got 3 boys, and the discount that you get for having 3 boys there, it wouldn't really amount to very much, right? But I had the privilege of going to Nudgee College, and my dad instilled an amazing work ethic in me. And either you got it or you haven't. I don't know. I don't know with your guys. Can you teach work ethic?
Mate,
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so.
Give me enthusiasm and someone who's going to listen, and I'll take them 100 times over somebody who comes in with ego. But my dad instilled really good work ethic, and I originally got into real estate because I'm like, well, if I'm any good at it, I should earn good coin, and that means that my family will be provided for, and my kids can go to Nudgee College.
Yeah.
So that's at the core of it. That's probably why I did it. But it's morphed onto something completely separate now. And I know when we sell a property, we get the best result that we believe from the market, but we also do it with less friction, and people come out the other end going, wow, that was actually a really good experience, which means next time they go to list or sell, we should buy rights. If it's on the peninsula, we should get that business. Yeah. Unless somebody's discounting and that sort of stuff. We don't like to, it's like you, if somebody goes, oh mate, I'm going to go with you or them, whoever gets the quote in at this price, you probably just walk out the door.
Well, we don't. We've got ourselves into the way we market things. Yes. We work for the client. Like we don't get involved in tenders. So that's, and I suppose my business has been built to become an attraction agency. Yeah.
People call me.
Yep.
So and again, from a prospecting perspective, you won't find me in the office making 100 calls before 12 o'clock. I'll take 3 or 4 and they'll be business.
Yeah.
Whereas other businesses are geared that they just hammer people and go, hey, you want to sell? Do you want to sell? Do you want to sell? And on average, they're going to connect with some people and go, what are the odds you called me today? Like, that's not...
Yeah, you ring enough people, you're going to get the right answer.
100%. But there is obviously prospecting, that sort of stuff that happens, but that's not the way that my business was. And Diane Clark is my business partner in Newport, so her and her husband bought into that operation with me. She has the same energy and passion for real estate. Diane, she's a really good human, but equally sometimes she drops her head, and I see that when she gets too involved with a certain situation and hasn't got that equilibrium.
Yeah.
And I say to her, whatever meeting you're going into next, if you drag that with you, that is going to be how the sense of that meeting is going to go. Yeah. You ain't going to get that business.
So who taught you this? Who taught you all this stuff?
Oh, I did. A couple of years ago, there were situations that were happening and I was getting emotionally involved in a transaction where I had no right to be emotionally involved. So I learned how to just take a step back and sometimes leave it for 24 hours and everyone just go sleep on it. Let's come back tomorrow, revisit and see if we can find a pathway forward. So now I just take time, because if you make a rash decision in the moment, inevitably it's probably not going to work out for the best.
Got to slow down to go forward, eh?
You do, but man, there's enough going on. I mean, I've built enough momentum in my 2 offices. I'm not scratching around for money, and that's why I can walk away from a deal if I'm not feeling it. And not every vendor, if they're not on the same way.
There's a lot of parents saying no, eh?
Pardon?
There's a lot of parents saying no and walking away from deals.
That is correct.
A lot of, it's not just builders and traders, but a lot of businesses get themselves into situations because they're not knowing the numbers, they're not making money, and they feel like they've got to say yes to every person that walks through the door.
Correct. And then you know what? And that gets in your head, and that's not a way to live.
Yeah. And it's funny, like people think real estate, you're a salesman, but in reality, every business is a salesman. Like you have to be able to sell.
100%. Someone's got to buy. Why are they going to give you money?
Whatever service, whatever job you're doing, you are a salesman.
And how your attitude that you take into those interactions with people, like the amount of youngsters, and when I say youngsters, let's call them in their 20s these days, because I'm 46 now. Christ, the youngsters who they're so bold. They want all the money, but they don't want to do any work for it, and they don't understand.
Mate, we could go on for hours about this.
If we could fix that, I think there's going to be
there's a lot of entitlement.
100%. But from what? Because people can have everything now after paying all this other crap where I don't have to. I can just pay that off later, and then they don't pay it off. It's like So I reckon there's going to be a vacuum of talent in the next 10 years where people like us are going to be held onto, because like if these youngsters are going to end up being directors and owners of businesses, oh mate.
It's just everything's caught up, hasn't it? Like everything is just so fast paced now, and then like social media's obviously got a lot to do with it, but everybody wants everything now.
Correct.
Like I'm sure
there's
when
no patience.
You are no different to me coming through the ranks. Like you had to work your way up.
100%.
You didn't just finish time or start a business and all of a sudden earn lots of money. No. Everyone these days wants to get some sort of qualification, finish their apprenticeship, whatever it is, and then be paid the same as the lead carpenter or the lead or the business owner or whoever on the
and then cracks the shits when they don't get the opportunity to earn that sort of coin.
Like you've got to my big thing now is value. Like I tell people, like, I'll pay you whatever you want if you add 3 times that value to my business.
That's a good metric.
And because people don't realise, like if I pay you a certain amount, my business has to make 3 times that money to be able to afford to pay you that.
It's a commercial reality.
Yeah.
Well, but that's having a serious discussion and say, let's sit down and work the numbers out.
Yeah.
I had a meeting today with Jonathan about his commission structure.
Yeah.
It's about value. What value are you delivering to my business? And that's the conversation that I've had with various other people in my business. And either you deliver the value or we have to sit back down at the table. And performance management and that sort of stuff is always challenging. It's having those hard conversations. Yeah. And I haven't been the best at that. But as a business owner in real estate and as selling principal, it's like, how many hours are there in the day?
So having a franchise like Belle, like this is something that's always interested me. Like, do they offer training and mentoring, or is there some sort of guidelines that gives you some idea what to do? Or?
There was a book, there was a binder when I first opened my office. I never opened it up. So when I started the office, I had 3 business partners. Chris King, who's a very good friend of mine, I've been in business with him previously, and then 2 of the developers from Traders in Purple. Now, the reason that they were part of the business, and they weren't directors, they were, and I'll share this stuff because it's relevant about how somebody can open up a real estate business with Belle without having ever sold a property before. They came not at financial backing, we were equity partners, but they provided the ability of a source of leads because they were selling apartments off the plan. So they have these people coming from the peninsula, and then it was a case of, well, Clinton's here and he'd love to look after you. It wasn't a case of we're the business partners. It was like, here's an agent, have a chat with him. I'd go on a list of property, appraise it, list it, sell it, do a great job, and then feed off that. Because if you've got a signboard up, you should probably get 2 or 3 listings if you're contacting people in that area. If you do a good job. If you do a shit job, well, people are going to go, oh, mate, that was a shit job. Like, I'm not listing with you. Yeah. So that's where it's self-perpetuated. So the Belle brand, I love the brand. And people say to me now, oh, why are you still with Belle? Or any franchise. Or why don't you just do your own thing, Vertell property? I'm like, it's not about that. The egomaniacs are the ones that end up with their name on the door because they
make it all about them.
Yeah, they do. It's not about me. It's not. It's about my staff getting better. And it's about not me earning all the money. It's about helping Johnny become a great agent so he can have the financial freedom that I do. And that's what I want for my guys. So the Belle brand, and I don't know, maybe because I'm a go-getter, I was able to actually get it started without really any help.
Without reading the binder?
No, without reading the binder. Shit, there's a lot more involved than just the binder, but I did a good job and then was able to manufacture more business off the back of that. So, and I talked to somebody about it recently. Had there been somebody who had sat with me for maybe the first 3 months, an established mentor, where would I be now? And I'm happy with where we are, but we could have had a faster start and set up better systems from scratch.
So would you know what you know now? Like
What's that?
Well, I used to think that about my business as well. And then I think, well, I wouldn't appreciate what I've got now. I wouldn't
make the mistakes.
Yeah, I wouldn't lean into certain things that I do now. Like all those things. Like you have to, sometimes you just have to go to the school of hard knocks to become the best person.
Mate, I remember for the first 3 months, I think it was $8,000 a month that we'd put all this money into a kitty, and we had fit out costs for the office and stuff. And I think it was for the first 3 months, it was $8,000 a month for me just to get some traction. Now, 3 months from scratch, that's not a long time to start having cash flow coming in. I remember it was, mate, there was no money coming in. There was stuff happening in deals, but they weren't unconditional, proceeding to settlement. And my wife's going, how
are we going to pay for this? Kids go nudgy.
She goes, how are we going to do this? And there were nights, not that I didn't sleep, but there were nights where I was like, holy shit, have I done the right thing? Because previously I was in corporate and I was a partner in the businesses that I was working in with good mates of mine, Chris and Adam, who were very successful entrepreneurs. I sort of see myself as a little bit like that now, but I don't really see myself as that. But mate, it was pretty hairy there for a bit. I don't think my wife ever said you need to quit and go back and crawl back to the guys, but that might have been a conversation we had after a couple of wines.
But what kept you going? What?
At that stage, I had a taste for it, and I was like, if I can just keep building this momentum, and I don't know, it was not the case that it wasn't paying bills and stuff, but mate, I had mortgage payments, and I'm like, where the hell is that mortgage payment going to come from?
Yeah.
But I just pushed through, and Mandy, my wife, she supported me through all that. But it's
because that's easy. Like being in that place is very easy to just go the other direction.
Correct. And I don't think I was built that way. I mean, but again, it's maybe because of the age that I am and the Gen X generation that I am, but these younger guys, and I don't want to push you all under the bus, but you either got it or you don't. I think you can't train genuine enthusiasm. If somebody thinks they're entitled and they should be earning more and they come to the office with that attitude and you can see it on their face, you have a very short span in my business because I can't have negative energy. That means, no.
Yeah.
I just walk out. I don't have a desk at my offices, and if there's anything funky going on in the office, if I can't help in that moment, I literally stand up and I walk out.
Yeah.
Because I can't be around that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's important to know your boundaries and what you'll accept.
Correct. But again, as an owner of the business, if there's stuff that needs to be addressed, it's addressed. But again, that's back to the hard conversations, and you don't ever want to have them, but the sooner that you have them, the better for everybody, I suppose.
Yeah, I'm always intrigued to know what pushes people through those tough times because the reality is everyone has them. It doesn't matter at what level you are, whether you're worth $100 or $1 billion. Like,
yes. Oh, yeah.
Everybody has challenging times. So
when I did this move, there was a couple of people in my network who, and this is 2018, mind you, so before COVID, and the market was average 90 days on market, 110 days on market was the average time it took to sell a house. So it wasn't gangbuster times. But there were a couple of people who said, oh, mate, it ain't going to work out. The timing's not right for you. And I'm like, well, who said that's not right for me? Like, that's a decision for me.
Yeah.
But so in that moment when you're thinking, shit, should I be doing this? That's a thing that's ringing in my ear going, the people who I know actually said it ain't going to work out for you. It's like, okay, right, let's just push through.
Keep delivering value.
Yeah, you have to. But you have to genuinely be knowing that you deliver value because the ones that don't are the ones that discount because that's all they got. Yeah. So if they're at the dining table and they say, if I did it for 1.5%, God forbid, as a commission, would you sign today? And some people are like, yeah, I'll do it.
Oh, imagine, mate, like I said, I think knowing what I know now, every single line of business deals with the same shit.
That's correct.
And I'm sure there is a shitload of real estate agents out there that have no idea what it's taking them to run and market their business. And they play around with their percentages and take every job that comes through the door. And
if you own the office that you're in and you own the house that you're in and you might be 50 years old, you can go and do that. But are you enthusiastic about getting the best outcome for that client? I don't think so. Are you investing in the technology and at the forefront and energetic and like we started doing videos, I suppose, around the COVID time because you had to show the people something if they couldn't actually physically inspect. So we started doing it and no one else was doing it and now everyone's doing it.
Yeah.
But that's just the way that it is. People have to go, oh shit, people are talking about their videos and then we had a couple of photographers that we were using in our Newport business and one of them started doing work for another very prominent agent and then the videos started to look the same. So we had to go, come on, there's got to be some sort of differentiation and then we moved away from him to another one.
Yeah.
Because it's like anything. Like you've got a brand and you've got quality that's associated with your brand. We have a Belle brand, and because it's not about me, it's about the brand, which is why I haven't said see you later to Belle, because fair's fair.
Yeah.
The brand helped us get some credibility when we opened up an office on the peninsula, and it holds value. But we've also aligned with that value of fewer better people, and it's all worked out. So Peter Hanscom, our CEO, he took a punt on me to start with, irrespective of lead backing, but he took a punt.
Yeah.
And it's worked out for the best. He could have gone pear-shaped and he would have looked like a dickhead, but he's a good bloke.
Why do you think real estate agents have a bad name?
Because the bad eggs are the ones that people aren't going at a dinner table unless somebody says, oh, I'm selling my property, who should I go with in Scarborough? And they've had a good experience, they'll say. But they'll go, oh, this agent did this or this or this. So the bad stories are the ones that get talked about.
Yeah.
which then, and mate, there is some bad stuff. And it is the ego. There's some actually. So Josh Kindred is a very prominent agency owner on the peninsula. Josh has got some social media ads about no ick included, ICK, which I don't know if that's sort of play with dick or whatever, but no ick. And he's got a photo of some dude who sort of looks like my legs right now with no socks on as a part of this campaign, which sort of says that if your agent looks like this and doesn't wear socks, maybe you shouldn't be listing with him. I haven't spoken to him about it. I don't get it myself, but I don't know. If you see the flashy cars and you see all that sort of stuff, some people that gives us a bad name.
Yeah,
I suppose. But mate, I'm into, like, you've got a Monaro sitting here. Like I'm into cars. Yeah. I've got too many. Yeah. But that's a passion of mine. Yeah. And real estate has provided me with the ability to have that sort of stuff. Yeah. And if anybody has a problem with that, then that's their problem.
And that's 100%. Like everyone, like if you work hard and you're passionate and you can get yourself to where you want to be, then I take my hat off to anybody in that position.
100%.
Like,
but
I think that's an Aussie, like it's a bit of an Aussie thing.
It's
like,
a tall poppy syndrome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're bad for it.
Yeah, it is, but why? It's the ones that are complaining all the time are the ones that they will never do the work required, and the work takes, like, I'm sort of 6 years in now, and things started to really click maybe 3 years in, and now it's clicked. And again, if I take my eye off the ball and take myself out of the business, the trajectory goes down, but I'm comfortable the amount of effort that I need to put in to make sure that stuff continues to go on the up.
Yeah.
So, and the up means that we bolt on. So in my team, I got my sister who came from a corporate career in Suncorp. She was helping us on Saturdays, and we got so busy. And then she's like, actually, I think I want to do this full time.
Yeah.
So she came out of a 20-year career at Suncorp, and she's now a junior agent in my team, because she's like, if I just keep working and doing this, I'm going to be 60 or 65 and retire. And she's like, I don't know if I want to do that. Yeah. So we've given her an opportunity to become a listing and selling agent, and the freedom financially, I suppose, that comes with that. The freedom financially comes at a cost, but because I work 6 days a week, and if I do Sunday inspections, it's at a rarity, because I might get divorced if I said that we were doing regular Sunday inspections, because you need to spend time with the family.
Oh, that's what it's all for.
But I miss my Saturdays. Like, I love Saturdays. Saturday's game day for me. So people go, oh, your Saturday. I'm like, I love it because I get to meet this amount of people and I love the interaction. But when I first started, it was tough because I had young kids. I still have young kids, but Dad, where are you going? It's like, I'm going to work. You go, what do you mean? It's the weekend. Yeah. It's the sacrifice that you make.
But it's one of those things, mate. Like you can't have you can't have both, can you?
No.
Like if you want to reach your goals, you want to be successful, you want to have a great business, you want to provide for your family and be able to do things with your family, like you have to make some sacrifices.
You do. And we're actually going to Queenstown, the first overseas holiday we've ever booked.
Yeah.
We're going in August over to Queenstown. So the family and the kids that are over the moon.
It's bloody brilliant over there.
Yeah. Well, we were supposed to go to 2 Belle Property Principals conferences in Queenstown, but COVID, it was during, it must have been 2020 and 2021, and they were cancelled, obviously, because of COVID, because we couldn't travel. Yeah. So I was very disappointed. And then the next year we went to Vietnam, of all places. Vietnam's a great country, but the comparison of 36 degrees and 100% humidity versus Queenstown.
Yeah.
I'd rather go to Queenstown.
Yeah, no, Queenstown's unreal. It's one of the very few places that I've been to where I've said, shit, I'd have a holiday home here. It's bloody awesome.
Go get one then.
Yeah, no, well, it's on the cards. But look, I'm really I appreciate you sharing your story, mate, and giving us a bit of the insides of a real estate business and what goes on. And what's a few things that if people are looking to buy a property, they should be looking for in an agent?
Look, I suppose trust, and that's born out of maybe somebody that you know. Ask people that you know who have sold, who'd you sell with, and if it's not me, whatever. Like, I want people to have a good experience when they sell their property, and equally when they buy their property. The way that we deal with people regarding negotiations is correct. Like, we hear people going, "Oh, I put an offer in and I haven't heard from the agent for a week." Like, what? That's disgraceful. Yeah. Because sometimes they're trying to leverage that against someone else that they've been dealing with for a while, like not in good faith. So if you operate in good faith, but in terms of like buying or selling property, you just need to trust that you're being dealt with in an ethical manner, because there is a low barrier to entry. Like, how long does it take to do a building apprenticeship or carpentry apprenticeship?
Well, it's supposed to be 4 years. Well, for a carpentry apprenticeship or any trades apprenticeships, 4 years.
4 years. Okay. So you can have a real estate license in about a week.
Yeah, right.
So you do a course online and then you go to the Office of Fair Trading and you pass your course, obviously, and they'll give you a sales certificate. So
to sell anything.
You can practice real estate.
Yeah, right.
right? So there's a very low barrier to entry.
And that's it. Like, you can do that course and you can go and sell any property.
Yep. So
and what about ongoing training?
So in the southern markets, there is a thing called CPD, which is points that you get to ensure that you remain upskilled. Queensland hasn't had that. So I believe that they are putting new systems in place to ensure that agents stay, because the legislation changes. And as an investment property owner, legislation regarding rentals has been skewing in the favour of the tenants. Like, if you've got a property and you don't want them to have pets, you can't deny them that now. It's like they can have a pet. So, yeah, I think that sometimes the legislation skews. It goes both ways, but it seems to be more in favour of the tenants at this point, which is danger. And we've got some landlords that have said, I'm out. No, we're happy to sell their properties for them, but they go off our rent roll. And that's a part of our core function, is to have our operational costs covered by the money that comes in from our rent roll. So, but look, in terms of property in general, if somebody wants to get into property, I love having conversations and helping direct people. If I know that somebody else has got a listing that's right for them, I'll just send them there. I don't want to. I need to get a conjunction commission. It's not about that.
Yeah,
it's about helping people find something. But then there's a lot of opportunities on the peninsula at the moment. So from stuff that's just in a knockdown state, but there's, again, some really, really, really good properties out there, as you've been involved with.
But it's worthwhile. I've always found planting the seed, isn't it? Like, it's worth me giving you a phone call saying, hey, mate, we're ready to do another development. This is what we're after. Keep your eyes out. Like, I feel like people shy away from those. Well,
but you see, because you're a go-getter, a lot of people are like, oh, Rich, who should I call? Or like, it's like, just, if you're wondering, just go and have a look at who sold the sort of property. Look on realestate.com.
Yeah, but you might not have something now, but just knowing that I'm possibly in the market for something, like, there might be something that comes up in 6, 8, 12, 2 years time, and you go, oh shit, I'll just ring that Dwayne up. He was looking that time.
And he'll do the deal. Yeah, mate, I've been waiting. Yep. And what I find with real estate is that it has a way of finding where you're supposed to go. You can't push it, you can't pull it. You just need to act in good faith, and it should deliver you. And we've had deals that have been like fallen apart, and people have been stressed, but it all tends to come back together, and that wasn't meant to be. Yeah. And if it falls apart, that property wasn't meant to be.
Yeah. I imagine you would get to deal with some people that are trying to live lives that they just can't afford to live.
Yeah, we've had some instances where finance conditions haven't been met. And yeah, like at the moment, if you've got a sort of a 3-month window with a pre-approval from the bank, because of just the shifting environment, and we've had some people who have thought that they were right, but then the bank's just gone, mate, your affordability is rooted. Yeah, you can't afford it. So they sort of feel embarrassed that they go through the process of going under contract, and I'm so sorry. And I had one recently, and the guy was genuinely, he apologised to me, mate. I can't believe it. He goes, I'm embarrassed. Yeah. I said, well, mate, that's okay. You gave it a crack.
Shit happens.
Yeah, it does happen.
I think the interest rate rises caught a lot of people out. We were only talking about this last week when we were recording a podcast with my finance guy, and we were talking about, like, there was this whole period, like, there's this whole group of people that came into the market from around 2011, 2012.
Correct. With 2%.
Well, they didn't see an interest rate rise for 7-8 years.
Correct.
And so they don't know what they are. And then all of a sudden they start happening, and they're like, oh shit, my repayments have gotten higher. Oh shit, they've gotten higher again. And like, holy shit, I'm going to have to stop going out for dinner 3 nights a week.
So we've got a few clients at the moment that we're talking with that have bought properties either through us or our people, who have told us in November we come off fixed, we go to variable, and we literally can't afford those payments.
Yeah.
So we're advising them certain things to do to be in a position where we can sell their property and they're going to make good money out of it, but they just can't physically hold the property. So we do see that. If I do sell a property under those circumstances, nobody's aware of it, but some of the dodgy agents will be like, mate, they got to get out. Yeah. They can't afford it. Yeah. Like, let's just offer them this, and I reckon I can convince them. Yeah. Which is just, again, the wrong way to operate. But
it's a tricky. Well, you have to know. We're just not taught this shit at school. Like, we're not taught about money. We're not taught.
Why aren't we?
We should be. We should be.
Yes.
That's why the world operates the way it does, mate. Because most people just go their day to day, head like following the sheep.
So before I had my own business in real estate, I was pretty flippant with spending money. Like, I'm more like my mum than my dad. My dad was the one that, we don't need a pool, we're not getting a dog, we're not going on an overseas holiday, because he just worked his ass off, and now he's got all this money, but his health's rooted.
Yeah.
Right. So that for me makes me sad. that my dad doesn't have is not able-bodied enough to go traveling or doing that sort of stuff. He's
And enjoying what he's worked for.
correct. So it's like, oh, you could get all the money. It's like, that's not what it's about. So now we bought a boat recently, and we bought it with Kurt and Diane, so my guys from Newport, because we couldn't justify the cost of doing it just by ourselves, and they live at Newport on the lake, so it lives there. I'm like, mate, I could die tomorrow, and I've had a red hot crack, and I'd be very happy. But if I waited to have all this money and then I end up like my dad, and then I can't do anything, I don't know. You've got to be able to have the consistency to do what you want to do and provide, but don't leave it in the bank, and don't be frightened that, oh, should I go and do this? Should I go buy this car? Or like
live within your means.
Correct.
But
Correct.
Mate, I'm the same as you. I'm only living this life once. And I'm here to, like, one of my things that I'm really passionate about now is for me, it's all about experiences. Like everything I do is for an experience. It's to give my kids experiences. Camille and I have experiences. Give our clients
take
experiences.
Them away. You can't ever take the experience away. The memory lives with you forever.
Yeah, and like I definitely don't want to get to an age where I can't physically do things, or fuck, something happens and who knows, I'm not here anymore. But if I want to do shit,
do it.
I want to do it. Like we did my Live Like Bill business. We did a conference earlier the year down the Gold Coast, and people were asking me like, why are you so driven? Like, how can you keep going every day? And I've said, I'm no different to every single one of you. Like, some days are a fucking battle. Like, I've got to keep pushing through. But I was telling them some of my goals, and like people were like, holy fuck, like that is just insane. And like,
what's one of your goals?
So one of my goals, mate, is I want to. Whether I wouldn't do it with just Camille and the girls, because it's such an experience that I'd love to do it with people that have done well and surround but I want to hire a charter yacht. Like, so the one that I've got this on in my visions. I look at it regularly, but mate, I want to hire a yacht. It's $1.2 million for 10 days.
Jesus.
And it takes 36 passengers and it goes all through Antarctica, mate. It's got a helicopter on board. It's got submarines, and basically for 10 days. You will go to places in the world that most people
never have the opportunity.
Never go there.
No. So what is it? 36 divided by 1.2 million bucks.
Yeah. So it works out to. I think if you filled the boat up, it works out to like 70. I worked it out. It was like $68,000 a person or something. Like
that's an attainable goal as long as you can bring the rest of people with you.
Yeah. So this is the thing. Like, everyone heard me saying this, and fuck, 1.2 million for 10 days, and then I broke it down for them. Like, that's this many people. That works out to this much per person. That's a bucket list experience. And when you work that down, so if, I don't know, whatever it is, say it's $60,000, $70,000, Camille and I and the girls, like whatever, might be $200,000 or $300,000. That is something that you'll remember for the rest of your life.
Correct.
And so for me these days, it's not about, like, I used to always think, or I used to just always tell myself, I can't afford that. I can't do that. Whereas now, when I want something, it's all about, how do I make that happen? What do I need to do in my life, in my business, to earn that amount of money to do that? And the other thing that I do now, which has helped me work a lot, is now that when you set goals like that, work backwards. So like, set a target. Well, righto, we want to do that in 10 years time. So in 10 years time, we need to have this much money. What do we need to do for the next 10 years to have that? Like,
did you always set goals? Because obviously, based on your experience of almost going bust, you wouldn't have been setting goals. You would have been the guys just going through the whole, like, there's no goal setting there, right?
Yeah, mate, I wasn't. Well,
so what changed in your mind to start setting goals and saying, I've got to do this better? Like, did you have a mentor that helped get you on track?
No.
Jesus.
No, it was all, well, mate, when you...
Did you just slip and bump your head or something?
No, well, mate, when you... I think I was similar to you. Like, my turning point was 2012. And so at the time, Lottie would have been 2 years old. And I think Camille was pregnant with Violet.
Wow.
And I was just like, fuck, we could actually lose everything. Everything that I've done could all be gone.
And then go start work for someone else.
And then like, I don't want my girls, like, I need to support my family. Like, I've got to do shit. And they and look, we've talked about, like, they go through the growth, ownership, taking responsibility, all those types of things. But like I had goals, they were just the wrong ones. Like I had a goal to have the F truck and have the 30-foot boat and like all those things. And so, but then I'd put myself in a lot of debt to have that, and then realize once I got it, like, yes, it's fun. We fucking carry on with our mates and our family, but fuck, I'm stressed out of my brain trying to pay for this shit.
Yes.
Like,
well, they're all, mate, that's what happens.
It's you've just I've definitely changed my tune. Like you don't live outside your means. You and forecasting's been massive.
Right.
Like, I'm sure you do forecasting and
next year, like we did the numbers in our business, our Newport business did better than expectation, and the Redcliffe business we'd revised our forecast and we did just over where the revised figure was, but the net figure between the two offices was over our target. And I had a sales meeting every Thursday, but we had a sales meeting this morning, and I was like, shit, I hadn't actually looked at the numbers because not to say that I was scared of looking at them, but we did it, and for the rest of the team, that was a me target. Everybody knows what they do as a part of the mix. But I was happy with where we are. But again, my whole motto with our business, again, like Belle Property, is fuel better people. And I know that for some of the other businesses that are operating on the peninsula, carry a lot more staff, and obviously that carries cost. But the amount of headaches with staff,
it is hard.
More people, more personalities. It's not easy.
Yeah. I had a moment today, which I haven't had for a long time. I just, like the boys were getting ready for smoko when I left site, and then my supervisor got there an hour and 15 minutes later and was on the phone to me. He's like, I've just rocked up, the boys having smoko. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, they sat down for smoko before I left over an hour. And they're still having smoko. I'm like, fucking hell. So I put a message on our channel and had a rant and a rave, and hopefully got them all back into gear. And then you go down this path of thinking like, fuck me, like that's just today. Are they doing that every single day? Like, is that why that job's behind schedule? Like, staff are hard work, but you can't,
no.
Yeah, I've learned you definitely can't expect everyone to just work their absolute ass off all day, every day. But I know in my business, I mean, I'm doing shit at 10 o'clock at night, sending out stuff. Yeah. Because that's what I do. Yeah. Well, you do. It's got to be done.
You do. Yeah, absolutely. Because
I've got a question for you, because in your game, like, you rely heavily on, well, most people would think that you rely heavily on what's going on in the economy, in the market, what people are thinking.
Yes.
And it's the same in my game, building industry. Like, most builders saying, like, they hear on the media, the things are slowing down, interest rates are rising, they go down, they put their shell back on, and the world's going to end and we're going to run out of work.
Yes.
How do you deal with that?
So that's you talking about macro or micro. Like, I look at the macros. Like, if somebody could seriously say to me, let's look at the last 10 years, show me where we've had a serious blip in terms of property prices. Show me. The 10 years before that, your 10 years before that. Like, Great Depression, what was that, in the 20s? Yeah. Like, is that going to happen again? I think, I don't know, there's so much money in the economy, and there's so much money out there, I don't know.
But even if it slowed down, it still comes back to your reputation and what you've built.
That is correct.
And people are always going to have to move house, and
people are always going to be renovating properties. People are going to be buying properties that they need to spend money on. So there's always going to be people spending money. Yeah. There's a lot of money out there, right? So, but I get the people who do come in and say, I'm waiting for the property prices to drop. This can't go on forever. And I say, well, I don't think, like, the sustainable growth, like that 40% that you saw there in that height of COVID in Newport and Scarborough, was driven a lot by Melbourne, Sydney, and to a lesser extent Canberra buyers who came up for a lifestyle change to get out, especially out of Melbourne. Like, they were the most locked down city in the entire world. Yeah. Like, to have that mantle is pretty shit.
Yeah, no, that was terrible.
Right? So we had the amount of people that we had coming up from Melbourne who would come up, sell a property down there for $3 million. They'd come up and they'd buy something for 1, 2, 1, 3 and make a decision like that. Yeah. Like, if you're moving from Clontarf and you've done well and you sell for $700,000 and then you come to Scarborough or Newport to buy something 1.3, like, nah, mate, it ain't that. What? Who are you going to be paying that number? I'm like, well, we're actually under contract. Yeah. And there's somebody from Melbourne. They go, oh, those bastards. And that was the mentality, because the lens of value is different for those guys. Yeah. So, which is what has driven a lot of that growth. And obviously, when you look at those graphs and how it drops, it's because the Reserve Bank did what they were supposed to do, but they acted late, which is why we had all those interest rate rises at that period. And it's had that effect where we didn't see price drop. We saw the percentages of growth slow, but we've still been tracking like in 12% in the last 12 months in Scarborough. I mean, 12% growth? Yeah. That's a cracking number. Yeah. Right? And it's not going to go down from there, I can't see. So, those macro effects in terms of real estate. That's what it's the long game. If somebody wants to buy something today and spend a couple $100,000 on a reno and then expect to make a mozza off it, that's risky. And unless you nail it and you're doing the reno, how much can you get for $200,000 these days?
Well, it depends what you want. Like I said, it's all about expectations, mate.
But I don't think you could make a mozza by just spending $200,000.
Yeah.
Like, you need to spend more than that to actually get that. So that's where that risk is. And if anybody says to me that that's what their plan is, I'm going, I can't see that. If you're talking about maybe a 5 or 6 year plan, I can see that that's less risk. And a 10-year plan, you literally you can't go wrong.
But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what industry you're in, what business you have. If you run your own race, you're confident in what you do, correct, you run a good business, you look after people, you do the right thing.
Sounds easy.
Like it is, isn't it? But it actually is easy.
It is easy.
People talk themselves out of it because of all their old school shit stories that they've been brought up with, that the world's going to end and interest rates are going to slow everything down. And
but they're the I don't know what I'm trying to say, but they're the people, they're never going to own a business. If they're always making excuses about why not, they're not the go-getters. Like you guys, like they're always going to be the people that are going to be an employee and then whinging about why they don't have the stuff.
Yeah.
And the stuff, material things are great, but that's not what it's about. I mean, experiences, that's why we're going to Queenstown. We want to spend time with our kids and away from real estate because, mate, I'm responding to inquiries at 10 o'clock at night, at 5 o'clock in the morning. Like, it's that, and we get so
I hope you're setting them to go in business hours.
No,
mate, come on.
This is not text messages, this is emails.
Yeah, but emails too, mate. You got to schedule them to go on business hours.
I don't know how to do that on my phone. but with the amount of responses that we get, where people go, thank you for the timely response. Because if you did a test on any property, could be anywhere in Australia, on an inquiry, I reckon 50% of the agents don't even respond.
Yeah, right? Mate, Camille and I are trying to buy another investment at the moment in our super fund, and we're looking at rural areas because they're long-term.
Yep.
We just want them for passive income.
Yep.
But, mate, I've sent so many inquiries.
No response.
Mate, there's this one. It's an absolute cracker, and
you have to drive out there.
Yeah, but, mate, it's... Like, honestly, this guy took over 2 weeks to come back to me. I had to follow him up 3 times. Yeah. And when he finally got back to me, he's like, oh, mate, look, it's there's no one interested. Like, just when you're ready, come out and have a look at it. And I'm like, mate, you're not doing a real good job at selling it there. Like, but, yeah, you got to... you definitely got to respond during business hours. But, mate, look, again, appreciate you coming on today.
Great.
Have you got anything else you want to tell the listeners before we get out of here? Or?
No, I just think that a lot of these stories, if you want to make a change, like, it's great to listen to this stuff, but your live, life, build, that's a business, right? And you're doing the mentoring and you're like...
Well, it's not just me anymore, mate. We've got 7 mentors in that business now. Jesus, we cover leadership, mindset, mental health and wellbeing, breathwork and exercise, systems and processes, finances and data, and all your contracts.
So what does it cost for someone, if I was a builder and I wanted to actually do that, what does it cost? Are you able to share that?
Mate, look, it's super affordable. Like our Elevate program, and then look, it changes all the time. At the moment, actually, it'll be changed by the time this podcast comes out, but at the moment, it's $1,450 a month plus GST.
Yep.
Super affordable. There's options on top of that for the reason we keep it so affordable. So we're like half the price of most of our competition because we are on a mission. We want more builders to get access to quality stuff.
So you make it affordable.
But what we do on top of that, if they want more personalised and one-on-one information, they can add on and they can do one-on-one calls. So at an additional cost.
Yep.
So
you've got to be paid for your time.
Yeah, but mate, I love it. I absolutely love helping people, getting the messages like the one from Lewis, like that.
That was special.
And Lewis isn't even in our community yet. Like he's just changed his life from information on this podcast. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's my point, is that you've got another client, I suppose, with him, and you can help you change people's trajectory of their lives. You have the power of doing that if they commit.
Oh, mate, it's insane. The biggest thing, again, you and I we can go on for hours, but I find the biggest thing that a lot of people let themselves down on, mate, like the 2 things that can absolutely change your life is commitment and consistency.
Correct.
Some people, I've done it as well, but like so many people are looking for the secret recipe.
There is none.
Or the secret sauce. And the reality is there is none. Like, you have to commit. You've got to put in the time. You've got to put in the effort. And number one, you've got to be consistent.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing that really, and it ties in with some of the stuff we've talked about today, like especially back to the younger people that want everything now and want to earn big dollars straight away. Like, And you touched on it before, like what was one of my turning points and stuff. Something that I was never good at and I didn't understand, but has made a huge difference to my life in the last 10 years is it actually doesn't matter what you earn. Like wealth is made on how you spend money.
Yes.
Not what you earn.
Yeah.
And if people realize that, so people, I know people that have earned $100,000 their entire life for 30, 40 years and they're worth millions.
Yep.
Because
they've spent it correctly.
They've spent it correctly. They've invested it and created passive income out of it.
Yep.
But so many people get the paycheck, spend the paycheck, and then wonder,
there's none left.
like, what's going on? Where's the next one coming from? Like, whereas if they took a bit of their paycheck, invested it in themselves,
personal growth,
personal development, personal growth, coaches, mentors.
But equally, there's a lot of charlatans. There's a lot of people out there that all they want is the coin and don't actually deliver any value.
Mate, I had a call today from a builder that has been working with this coach and is just so disappointed that he didn't come with us first because this other guy is just really, he sold him on the marketing. It was just all marketing,
it's
all
the same
marketing.
as agents selling it on themselves in that living room and then don't back it up with any tangible differences. No, it's insane, mate. I love it. I love what I do now. This podcast is incredible. That's why it's become Australia's #1 construction podcast. Like we're helping people. So congratulations.
Cheers, mate. So,
well done.
Actually, I had an awesome one today. A guy told me today or yesterday that I saved his marriage.
Oh shit.
We've had other ones. We've saved lives and all this stuff. The best one ever is from a wife saying that she's got her husband back.
Wow.
But to have a guy yesterday just through an Instagram message, I send everyone my number. Like people message me on Instagram. I say, mate, if you want to chat, here's my number. This guy's called me up within 5 minutes. And he's like, mate, look, I just want to let you know that if I hadn't joined your program, like I'd be separated now. Like your program's got my life back. I'm spending time with my family. My wife's happy. We've got a good family. Like, and for me, that's the driver. It's not all about. One thing that shits me is all these people you see on social media. It's all about the Lamborghinis and the flash houses. Like. Don't get me wrong. I want all of our members to have great businesses and make good money. That's
not what it is.
You've
got to wonder what happens outside of that Instagram post. People don't get like all the other stuff.
Yeah.
No.
But mate, look, thanks for coming on, sharing your story.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, look,
I'm glad we finally did it.
Look, guys, if you're in Southeast Queensland, more importantly, Moreton Bay Shire, Redcliffe, Scarborough, Newport, reach out to the guys at Belle Property. Clinton and his team will do an incredible job for you. I can definitely vouch for that. But look, as usual, if you like this podcast, please like, subscribe, share, comment, all those things, because we want to continue to make this Australia's #1 construction podcast. Let us know what type of guests you want on, what you want us to talk about, because this is all about helping you. Look forward to seeing you on the next one.
Are you ready to build smarter, live better, and enjoy life? Then head over to livelifebuild.com/elevate to get started.
Everything discussed during the Level Up podcast with me, Dwayne Pearce, is based solely on my own personal experiences and those experiences of my guests. The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for general information only, and any reliance on the information provided in this podcast is done at your own risk. We recommend that you obtain your own professional advice in respect to the topics discussed during this podcast.